Well, welcome back. So, as promised, I'm continuing with the interviews that stemmed from my trek over to the CES show. And so with me today is Vida Roozen, who is with the Smarter Service. And we actually met a few years ago online, and we've been talking because we both have the same interest in senior technology and improving our lives with technology. So welcome, Vida.
Thank you, Debbie. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, I'm glad you could make it today.
Yeah, of course, of course.
So we had I don't know about you, but I told my audience that I definitely, it was like Disneyland going to CES for someone who loves tech the way I do.
Yeah, I know, and it's overwhelming. I mean, there's just so much out there and so much innovation, and interesting to see where it's all headed.
Were you able, you were there a little bit longer than I was. Mm-hmm. I went on the spur of the moment. So did you make it outside much of the Age Tech Collaborative? Because I spent most of my time there.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I come out of that industry, so I met up with a lot of old friends in the main hall and got to see some of the just broad innovation happening, but I spent most of my time in the Age Tech Collaborative as well.
So I saw some really incredible things which I brought in, I'm going to be discussing or have actually discussed on the show.
Yeah.
But I know it was just this much compared to everything else. What do you think was one thing that you saw that just wowed you? Because I'm telling people on the show, like when I talk about something, I'm giving it a wow factor.
Got it.
How many wows? So what was your most wows?
I mean, not in Age Tech. There was a really interesting phone case that brought back the tactile keyboard, which we hear a lot from people we work with, that they miss the keyboard on their phone. So that was really cool. The wow was for me was the holographics, not because they're applicable right now, but because I think we'll see them show up in so many applications in the future where you can humanize the technology experience without having to have a physical body there, and it's come a long way.
So did you get in are you there?
I did.
Me too.
I got in that one that aged me. I got out of it as quick as I could.
Oh, I didn't ask them to do the age one, but I did do some dancing. And really enjoyed that, and in fact we showed that. Wow, it is, for me, I was, as an educator, and when they talked about the application for that to teaching and it's phenomenal. And then I did some research on that company, and I found out that they're getting a smaller size that can be in the home.
That's right.
And I think that it's something for the future.
Yeah.
It's not going to be. We didn't even think about those things since Star Trek, right?
I know. Star Trek and the Jetsons, it's all coming to life.
It all is in almost everything has come to life.
But I think we'll see it in consumer spaces. And so I could envision that being in a retail store where instead of dealing with an associate who walks up to you, you can actually go to a kiosk where you feel like you're talking to a human, and maybe you are talking to a real human, they're just not in the store. They're coming in remote.
Right, which is a great idea, which is really cool. What did you think about, did you see some of those beds that like pump up and turn you over if you're snoring? Or
Yep, I saw it all, and they track how you breathe, and if you get too hot or you get too cold. I mean, the amount of data that can be collected now is just really unbelievable and can help caregivers get in front of issues before maybe even they're happening.
Well, I talked about one of the products was with mental health, and it gets the AI that's integrated in that gets to know your tone of your voice and can sense if something's happening and report that to whoever is monitoring that. But even if you don't have somebody monitoring it, it can also do that. We talked to the LEQ, the robot, and that I feel like for emotional support and is good. I mean, we only touched on a few things of what LEQ did, but just to keep it simple for the audience, but it's something, it's an affordable item that you could have in your house, you know. And I liked, every time we said her name though, she lit up. So she was listening. She was listening to the whole conversation.
That's right.
And learning about us.
That's right.
So anything else that you like really like just?
There's so much.
Right.
And I think that's the blessing and the curse of it, is there's just so much to wade through. There's wonderful advancements for people who have different vision challenges or hearing challenges. So there's a lot of innovation happening in that space, which is really exciting to me because it's a very real problem for people. And so continuing to imagine how you can do that, but also maintain your dignity and your independence and all of those things, like it's really being incorporated from a fashion sense too, which I was really happy to see because sometimes it's a barrier for people.
Right. The Xander, did you see the Xander?
I did, yeah.
So I spoke a bit about that, and I actually told a friend who has some hearing challenges about it, and that, and she was, I sent her, she said, well, send it to me, I want to read about it. So I sent her some information about it, but to be able to have these glasses with closed captioning running inside of them, but they look just like normal glasses, so there's no stigma attached to that. And I did spend a lot of time looking at vision and hearing related, and I have the AMD product, and for people with that, so I've spoken about. Again, I've taken one or two things from them and already talked about it on the previous episodes. But for me, I feel like that's where it's going. Sometimes it's hard to connect that AI is part of those things, but it has to be because it's progressing. It's learning you. It's learning your stuff. Some of the crazy things I saw, and I'm not so sure, was the grill that grills your steak using AI.
I missed that.
There was a beer one, but I didn't talk about that. But
did you see that bar set up? There was at the Venetian Hotel. There was a bar set up that was all managed by robots.
I saw pictures of it. I did not get a chance to go there. I did go over to one of the main halls, and I went to Google because I'm into Google. I call myself a Loogle, in love with Google. So I went there because I wanted to see some things, and then I went inside and I saw SK had this the Wonderland. It was a carnival.
Okay.
It was absolutely amazing to think about. They're about sustainability and things like that. Not specific to age tech type things, but I can't wait for next year to be able to go back and actually take the time to get to see more.
Yeah.
But I feel like the time I spent in the Age Tech Collaborative from AARP was well spent.
Yeah.
I wish I could have seen more of the presentations because I felt like there was some value. But you and I sat in one, and the thing about it is those are things you and I live every day.
That's right.
They were talking about things that are very familiar to us.
That's right.
But they're of course they're trying to engage with companies to make more age tech.
That's right.
Right. So I want to. Is there anything else that you just really want to share about that? Because I'm going to ask you some questions.
Yeah. No. There's this interesting collision happening with technology and humans in that you're seeing people try to take the physical world and then capture it in the digital world. And so there was a company there. Did you see Presidio? It's a personal vault, which was really interesting to me because you get these digital vaults for, banking institutions or your financial institutions, but this is a digital vault for your life. And so imagine if you have family heirlooms that may not be valuable in the open market, but it's the teddy bear that your grandma gave you and your mom's put that away in the attic in a particular box. You can house that in this digital vault so that at end of life, where everything is. Documents, things, family heirlooms. So it's really interesting how CES really was starting to show this blending that's really trying to happen, and I think it really matters to a lot of the audience that you speak to and that we both care about. So
that we care deeply about, and that's exactly that's a great point because I've spoken on the show and in other shows and even done presentations on digital asset management and preparing for that inevitable time. And these items like the Presidio and the digital vault and artifacts and some of the other things, those are all things that we didn't have 20, 30 years ago to think about, but yet now that they're here, you're like, okay, that's a really good idea.
That's right.
And that's something that's really going to benefit as people downsize or whatever reasoning they come behind that. But there's a story.
That's right.
And we want to know. And I spoke with Artifacts about my own little cigar box of some things from my childhood. My baby bracelets in there.
Yeah.
And so, it's like I somehow that's managed to survive 66 and a half years. No, sorry, yes. But those are things. So, one of the things I want to back up a little bit about Vida and I, and Vida's company is called the Smarter Service, and they are a technology concierge company. And that's kind of how we interacted. She heard about my show and reached out to me. And I love the concept because so many times, and why the show was born was to help people become more comfortable with technology.
That's right.
And so I don't want to be like a sales commercial, but I do want you to explain to my audience what you all do.
Sure.
And how important it is.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I came across your show by happenstance. Somebody forwarded it to me when we started this company a few years ago. And you and I are so like-hearted that way, and just wanting for people to be able to use what's out there. And so Smarter is a personalized tech concierge company, and we are focused on helping older adults build confidence, using their technology, discovering what's right for them, fixing things when they're broken. I really think of us as proxy family to families and their loved ones to help them navigate a digital age, because the world is just digitizing so quickly around them. But you and I just came out of a show where it was nothing short of overwhelming, all of the options out there, and there's a ton of investment and innovation happening in technology, but not enough discussion around digital literacy and what that means to older adults. And so you had shared an article with me, I think from CTA, and they were saying that 70+% of people are thinking about using technology, that it makes them feel like they have control of their health. But I was also reading a Pew research that said 73% of people 65 and over need help with technology. They need to understand how it applies and how it applies to them.
Right.
And so we've created a service to really help people navigate that reality and let them curate their own technology experience with somebody who cares about them and will lend a helping hand.
Right, and the way that yours is you have different levels of service, from just a telephonic interaction to, an actual, physical interaction, and it's up to them. And oftentimes when I've spoken about your service to other people, I've said, well, a lot of times it's the children who are buying the subscription for their parents so that they're not the ones always getting that phone call. And when I say that to people who are at that age where they might have a parent who's at an age where tech is on the edge, maybe they didn't use tech when they were working, and at some point though, we will meet up with this where people are already technologically advanced, but it's still years to come.
That's right.
We're getting there.
That's right.
Like baby steps, but also at the same time, technology is growing by leaps and bounds.
Absolutely.
So even people who feel comfortable like me, I know that my learning curve will never stop.
That's right.
And
sometimes you just don't want to keep up with it. We actually, a lot of our members are boomers, and they've retired. They're not in the workforce in the same way that they were, in their working years. And so they lose the thread on it, and they're okay with that.
Right.
They don't want to stay on top of it, but then they want to be able to check in on it when it makes sense for them. They want to be aware of what's coming that may help them stay at home longer. You talk to loved ones that are supporting their parents, and it's not that they don't want to help, but they don't necessarily have the time to research what's great, for their parents, as they have different accessibility needs, as they have different security needs, different tracking needs, and so really having a partner to help you navigate all that. You know where to go find a lawyer, or where to go find a financial advisor.
Right, so where's the tech?
Who the heck helps with this?
Right. No, I totally get that. I feel like, there's just the depth of where we could be with all of this is just it's enormous, and I understand. And people think, well, Debbie, you're so tech so well. No, Debbie does not know tech that well, believe it or not. She knows what she needs to know, and when people do ask me a question about something, And I don't know about it, I go and I learn about it.
That's
and
right.
that's my advantage, is that I'm able to quickly figure it out.
Yeah.
But most people aren't able to do that.
Or don't want to.
Or don't want to.
Yeah.
So I want to,
That's right.
if somebody asks me something I don't know, I'm going to try to figure it out to help
right.
them. And that's just who I am. I'm an educator.
That's right.
And so
That's right.
that's my, I just, okay, well, I can do that. And, even myself right now, I'm doing this content creation beyond this show.
Yeah.
And I have a huge learning curve with tools, editing tools, video tools. That's been really hard. So give themselves a break.
Oh, absolutely.
Take those baby steps that you need. So, all right. Well, I think our time is just about up. But you and I could go on for days.
I know, we could,
because we think about the same things. But I appreciate that you have what you have for available to the community.
Yeah.
And they're across the country. It's not they are local.
We are.
But a local start. But they are everywhere. They have a huge in Arizona somewhere, right?
Yeah, we're in Arizona. We're in Wisconsin. We're getting ready to launch in Indianapolis, and so we're growing by leaps and bounds. And it's because people want the help.
Right.
They want the patient help.
Right, and that's the other thing. I mean, your people that you hire,
That's right.
They have to have a certain quality and be able to interact and not get frustrated.
That's right.
Because the older person might be very frustrated.
That's right.
And we have to remain not frustrated.
That's right.
But
It's
it does
helpful.
happen. We all do get frustrated.
Yeah.
But I can't wait for next year to go to CES. I don't know if
Let's
you're
go longer.
Yeah. Oh, yes. That's a given. I immediately told myself I was exhausted.
I know. You have to, I came out of that industry, and so I used to go for 10 days. And this time I went for a day and a half, and you only went for a day.
A day.
And so that's just not enough time to get through everything and have the conversations you want to have.
No, and with the way it was spread out, it was in 4 big, very large venues, and getting from point A to point B was a challenge. So I learned, actually for me it was good though, because I learned a lot. I learned how I'm going to do it next year.
That makes sense.
And not how I will plan better.
Right.
And because media does have access earlier, I will definitely go earlier, because I feel like I could have had some more in-depth conversations with people if I'd gone earlier. But I still saw I still came back with 3 shows worth of stuff.
I know.
And again, I feel like I hope everybody has really enjoyed what they've heard so far, because these are things that I talked about a few things that are futuristic, but other things that are available today.
Well, and that's the interesting thing about CES, is it is a mix of practical things that are out today that you could go into stores and you could buy, but there's also the dreaming of the future. And so you see a ton of this technology that in its current application at the show, you'll never see. It's just out of this world stuff, like drones playing soccer. I don't know if you get to
Yes,
see that.
I actually shared that.
Good Lord. But, the way that technology will show up in the future is really fascinating to see unfold. So.
It was. Well, thank you so much for
Absolutely.
coming in person. It's so nice to have you here. We'll have to do this
too.
again.
Yes,
we need to have
absolutely.
Vida come back, and we'll talk about some other tech topics, because
Yay.
we can do that all day long.